again!
Yes, people, welcome to another edition of Knightz and a Round Table Discussion, where we discuss all sports all the time. Got my guys Tooth, The Truth, and Rash with me. How are we doing, people?
Nice.
All good, all good.
All good.
Glad to hear it.
All good.
Glad to hear it. We're here to talk about, as you can see in the background, UFC 251, aka Fight Island, coming up this Saturday in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be a madness, first of its kind. I do believe it's supposed to be an octagon on sand. There's going to be all sorts going on. Yeah, octagon on sand, allegedly. We'll see everything on Saturday. We've got three massive co-main events. We've got Usman versus Masvidal. We've got, what's his name? Tooth, how do you say it? Volkanovski? Volkanovski versus Holloway. And then we've got Yan versus the legend that is Jose Aldo, but there's only one place to start. Usman versus Masvidal. Masvidal coming in as a late replacement for Burns as he tested positive for coronavirus, but we all know this is the fight that we actually wanted. I'm going to start with you two. Usman versus Masvidal, mate. Talk to me.
Yeah, very happy. Very happy, man. So excited. This whole thing started off obviously after the BMF title. So when Masvidal beat Nate, the question was not if, but when is he going to fight for the welterweight title? So they had a stare down / confrontation during the Super Bowl week, and this was televised, and after that it was all agreed upon that they would fight. Obviously it came to be that they won't fight, and Usman then defended his title against Colby, which wasn't a bad matchup. So this is the fight everyone wanted to see. Very happy Masvidal took the fight. Obviously there was issues with pay, so I'm happy they ironed that out. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a big Masvidal fan, so give him all the money he wants. He's definitely a needle mover. Every time he fights, people are invested. And he's an exciting fighter. And he's got charisma. He's got the whole package. Do you know what I mean? If you promote him, you can have another superstar on your hands. And if he wins this title, for sure, it is the birth of one of these, top tier MMA fighters that have the whole package. You could promote them. You can say they're the baddest motherfucker on the planet, basically. So he's gonna get a big push if he wins, hopefully. Obviously Gilbert Burns tested positive. However, I'm not sure if he tested positive. His brother Herbert Burns came out and said he was the one that tested positive. So Herbert tested positive, and therefore they couldn't allow Gilbert to fight. But don't hold me to that. I'm not very sure. So once that news broke, Jorge went on Twitter and posted a picture saying the definition of game bred is an animal that's bred to game. And that was it, bruv. Dana White gave him the fucking call, do you know what I mean? Sent him the contract, put however many O's you want on that motherfucker, bruv. Let's make this fight happen, bruv. And I'm fucking gassed, bruv. I can't even, bruv. I've been throwing flying knees throughout my house at work and shit. You know what I mean? Masvidal was gonna fucking scorch this unlikable prick, bruv.
Just on the whole pay thing, just to give people scope. Masvidal was the original fight was supposed to be Usman versus Masvidal, but unfortunately Dana wasn't freeing up the money. And I was watching Masvidal's interview with Ariel. I think he did it yesterday, and Masvidal was like, "Look, all right, cool. I'm gonna walk out of this. I'm going to walk out on this because I want the money that you owe me." And he said to his people, he was like, they will come back because someone will get injured. And lo and behold, it wasn't an injury, but Burns ended up pulling out. Masvidal got the call, said he wanted this many O's, and Dana had to adhere to it. And I know the truth is all for paying the athletes their money and what they deserve. But Truth, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you think Masvidal is worth the money to be paid to fight Usman, or was Dana White right to hold fire and say, look, this is your contract, this is what you're supposed to be paid, and that's that?
With Masvidal, look, I've got two things. Masvidal, I'm not his biggest fan. I know he's, the baddest MF on the planet, but I'm not his biggest fan in terms of fighting. I get what he was saying. He was saying that he got more money for fighting for the BMF belt versus Nate than that he got for the Usman fight. But then I was thinking to myself, my thought is, how much was down to Nate? A lot of that was down to Nate. It's a hype fight. Usman, you're getting the belt. Once you get the belt, you could demand whatever you want. But on the other hand, I've always said, and I stand by it, let fighters get paid whatever they want. They're the ones putting their body on the line. They're the ones getting hurt. They're the ones fighting through these tough situations during COVID time. Pay them whatever they want. UFC has a history of underpaying their stars, bar probably Conor McGregor, who earns his own through Gates. But they have a history. I think, I don't know if you that brought out the stats, that the percentage that they get from everything is probably the lowest out of all sports.
Yeah, stupid.
Which is ridiculous. So that definitely needs to change. Masvidal played hardball, and congrats to him. He got the contract he wanted. I'm kind of nervous about him taking the fight on such short notice, but as he said, he's ready. He said he's in shape. As Gaethje proved, you could take this fight on short notice, but this is real short notice. Usman is no joke. Usman's my boy. He's no joke. He's ready. He's ready 24/7. Man's been training for everyone and anyone. Doesn't matter who. In fact, he's been training for Masvidal even though he wasn't going to fight Masvidal. So
thing is, I want to chime in. Yeah, I know Masvidal's record is not as good as Usman's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usman's come in and he hasn't lost since, I don't know, early 2010s, like back in like 2012, I think, whenever he was fighting his early days. But you got to look at the losses that Masvidal has taken in the UFC, right? The only one that I can think of that was unanimous was against Wonderboy.
Mm-hmm.
And then apart from that, the others have been split. And those were close split decisions that he lost. And the only reason why I say that he lost in those split decisions, because the judges don't like the guy. I don't know why. Everyone can fluff it up as much as they want. But for me, if I like Usman as well, don't get me wrong, the guy's a killer, no doubt, right? But for me, I feel like Masvidal is too hungry. But if Masvidal doesn't have a game plan, he's open to taking shots. We've seen that. We saw that against Stevie Thompson. He was taking too many shots. Stevie was coming in all karate-like and just chopping at his feet. And if Usman does the same game plan as Stevie, then he's going to win hands down by points. But my heart is telling me Masvidal, but my head is telling me Usman will take it.
I'm going to give this a 2.
I've been dying to jump in, bro.
I'm gonna throw this to you. From what I see from the matchup, I think Usman is too skillful and has too much in his armory for someone as I wouldn't say single-minded as Masvidal, because Masvidal does have skill, but he's known to be a gunslinger, and I think he's gonna go out as a gunslinger.
To Diaz in that sense.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got the skill matchup to match with Usman. What's your thoughts?
All right, so with regards to the fight in a technical kind of viewpoint, either or. I'm not saying Usman ain't dangerous, but there's no way Usman will stand there and trade with someone like Masvidal.
I know he's handed, yeah. Masvidal's heavy-handed.
There's no way that Usman will play that game with him. if he's a smart fighter, the only thing he's going to, and he's already said this, if you go and watch his interviews, he's already said he's gonna wear him down, grind him down. He's kind of alluded to the same game plan that he used against Tyron Woodley, because he's smart. There's no way he's gonna stand there and do what he done against fucking Colby Covington. Bruh, the only 2 knockouts Usman has on his record, and actually one of them is a true knockout, the other one was a TKO against Colby Covington. So the first knockout was against Sergio Moraes, who's just a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's it. He has nothing else. So he knocked him out, and that was after 12, 13 MMA fights, something like that. That was his first knockout. And then his other one was against Colby Covington, who by trade is a wrestler. Now, if you guys know anything about matchups in MMA, when 2 wrestlers fight, it always turns out to be a stand-up slugfest. You know, neither one of them are trying to take each other down. They're just like, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? So that's always, and that's what happened in that fight. So that's why it was exciting to the common folk. But if you put someone as dangerous as Masvidal in there against Usman, and Usman decides to just stand it, bro, he's getting taken out. The reason I say that is because Masvidal, Rash said, 2010, bro, this guy has been fighting since the Kimbo days in the backyards, bare fists. The losses on his records are purely because my man just took fights, anyone, anywhere, anytime. Just go Wikipedia that shit. He took fights in Japan, he took fights everywhere. And on top of that, he fought in some of the toughest MMA organizations out there against some of the most dangerous competitors at the time for his level. And remember this, he was just a street fighter. He wasn't trained like some of these guys like, Rory McDonald's and GSPs and all those guys that were gym, like, born and bred in the gyms. He was a pure street fighter, backyard boxing. So for him to take that journey from there to now, he's come leaps and bounds. Furthermore, there was a point in his career, again, where Rash said, there was a lot of losses on his record. I think maybe one of them was by submission, and the rest were all basically split decisions, apart from maybe 1 or 2. Wonder Boy completely took care of him. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a Wonder, bro, if anyone knows me, I'm Wonder Boy's biggest fan. You man know me, I'm the karate guy, yeah? So Wonder Boy, I love that guy. But basically, to say this, Masvidal went on a reality TV show with Yoel Romero. It was some Latin American, like, Survivor kind of reality TV show where you put these athletes in the jungle and shit. He took like a year or 2 years off. He came back from the jungle, right? Darren Till, knocked out, ice cold. Ben Askren, knocked out, ice cold. Nate Diaz, bruv, he mullered him. As much as I'm the biggest Nate Diaz fan as well, completely mullered him. Do you know what I mean? Those 3 fights in the space of a year, those 3 fights in the space of a year, Darren Till, bruv, this guy was murdering people up until Woodley exposed him. That was his first fight back after like a year off. Then he went straight in there with Ben Askren, who was meant to be the world's best welterweight that wasn't in the UFC. Blood, he done him in 8 seconds? Set the record. And that was meant to be a wrestler, the same trade as Usman. And then he went in there and took care of Nate at Nate's game, which was cardio and going to war and making it a slugfest. Took care of him. So the late notice thing doesn't bother me. The thing that bothers me is that Usman's wrestling pedigree could be enough to make him win this fight.
I just want to chime in there, and that is the biggest point. It is going to be one of those in which it is going to be the puncher versus the wrestler, and taking this fight on such short notice, is it more of a disadvantage for Usman, considering he's been training for Burns, and then all of a sudden he's got Masvidal, who is just all arms, all hands, throwing bombs, right? Is it more of a risk for Usman than it is for Masvidal? I'm going to throw that to the truth.
I don't think so because as I alluded to before, Usman has been actually training for Masvidal previously. He said he's always kept Masvidal in his sport because he knew that was the fight that was going to get made. And before their fight was called off, he was training for Masvidal. So it's not like a thing where, you know, Masvidal is a surprise replacement. Usman knows exactly what he's going to get from, and I don't think you have to do much training for Masvidal. I think you know what you are going to get from him. I think Usman is underrated in his stand-up in terms of I think he can hang in there. I don't think he will trade. I don't think he'll trade willy-nilly with Masvidal is heavy-handed. But I think his stand-up is good enough for him to hang in there. I personally think he's got too much for Masvidal. That's just my personal thoughts on it. I think he's got too much. I think he's too smart. I don't think he's going to get into a slugfest. I think he's going to break Masvidal down and then stop him. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Rash, just from your point, because I know you are tipping Masvidal to win this fight. Do you think that he's got enough to deal with Usman if he can avoid because defensively he's very good at avoiding takedowns. So if he can avoid the takedowns and catch Usman, do you think that will be enough to get the win?
Oh, to be honest, it's very tight looking at it. The only way I can see it happening is the same situation as the whole Gaethje and remind me, who was it? Gaethje and my mind's just
Tony
fucking
Ferguson.
blank.
Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, Jesus, pillow on the head. Yeah, so that fight this kind of reminisces that because he Gaethje stepped in right last minute and then he came and he was prepared. Yeah. So that's what got me feeling Masvidal might stand a chance because Usman's unprepared. I know Wendell's saying he's always been Usman's always been prepared for Masvidal because he knew it's going to happen, but there's being prepared, saying it, and then actually being prepared. Do you get what I'm saying? I could turn around and say I'm ready to fight this guy tomorrow, but that's just me saying it. It's not that I'm prepared for his fighting style, the way he moves, the way he jabs, his speed compared to the other fighter, his strength compared to the other fighter. There's a lot of factors in it. There's a lot. But saying all that, I still think Usman has too many abilities to come at and too many ways he can come at Masvidal. Don't get me wrong, I love Masvidal. Since the guy came back after he lost to Wonderboy, everyone was like, yo, guy's got to retire. He's been at it for too long. He's not going to come back. But he's come back like fucking the Phoenix has risen from the ashes kind of thing. It was like that because no one gave him a chance after the Wonderboy fight. Everyone was like, look, he should go back to backyard wrestling. He should go back to his trade, make a few bucks that way. But he's come back and he's been a force, bruv. And you can't turn that away. But at the same time, he still takes shots. You can still get at Masvidal. And as much as I've seen Usman fight, there's not many guys who can come at him. Well, I thought Woodley would do it, and Woodley couldn't lay a finger on the guy. And we actually, all of us here, thought Woodley would take it to Usman. Everyone here in this group thought that. But Usman showed us that he's on another level, bruv. So 100%. For me, I really want Masvidal to do it because I like the guy as a personality. He's good for the business because people like him as a personality. But technically, Usman will probably come out on top. It'll be a decision again. It'll be unanimous. It'll probably even be split. And if it's split, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Usman.
100%. I like the way how this is going.
I need to jump in there. Both of them went in big, man. So basically, the truth said, Usman is going to be ready for Masvidal. He sure as hell ain't going to be ready for Masvidal. And I'll tell you why he's not going to be ready for Masvidal. He prepared for Masvidal back in 2019 after the BMF title was settled. Yeah. Since this fight has been announced, he was meant to be fighting Gilbert Burns up until 24 hours ago. Yeah. Gilbert Burns is from the same camp as Usman. They train in South Florida at Hard Knocks Gym. which has changed now to, I forgot whatever brand name they've taken on, but it used to be a part of the Black Zillions. So doesn't matter. They're from the same gym. They've sparred with each other. They've trained classes with each other. They know each other's game in and out. There's no way that Usman is expecting to know what Masvidal was bringing when in Masvidal's 2 fights ago, Masvidal knocked out Ben Askren in 8 seconds when everyone thought Ben Askren was going to lay and prey on him the same way we're thinking now that Usman is just going to lay and prey on Masvidal. Just bear that in mind. So hold on. I've got a whole list, bro. Man's been taking notes. I've got a whole list. I'm just going to quickly rebuttal this point. Yeah?
No one's saying.
So that's that. Yeah? So
Hold on 1 second. Let him finish. I'll come to you.
Let me just get one through this one time, yeah? Second of all, the reason why this benefits Masvidal is because let's just agree on this. Masvidal is a true fighter. And like we said, he comes from bare knuckle boxing in the backyard where literally no weight classes, no nothing, no rules. It's just on the spot you fight. That's it. He's a true fighter. Usman is more of the athlete. So in this case, I think personally it benefits Masvidal. And just because you haven't heard or seen from Masvidal, I do think my man's been in the gym training hard, training his ass off. He knew this was going to happen. That's why all this news about contract talks and all of this stuff was going around at this time. That's just my hunch. On top of that, we talked about Usman's stand-up skills. Please show me, where have you seen Usman stand up? I just broke that down. In his the only 2 knockouts he's had in his whole MMA career, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the 2 that come to mind for me are Sergio Moraes, who, like I said, is a poor man's Damian Maia. He's just a jiu-jitsu practitioner. And the other guy was Colby Covington, who wrestled, and like we said. Poor man's Damian Maia, but... Right? So there's no way that he's going to... If he's thinking his confidence in stand-up, to be Masvidal at that, I'm sorry. Where we've seen Masvidal go toe to toe with some of the best.
Hold on. Let him finish. I'll let you come back.
I'm almost there. Just bear with me, yeah? So, like I said, we've seen Masvidal go toe to toe with some of the division's best, and he came up from lightweight. He's gone against it with Nate, Cowboy Cerrone, Wonderboy Thompson, Benson Henderson, you name it, he's been in there with them. I can't name no strikers that Usman's been in there with. Do you know what I mean? Woodley, you could say he's a striker, but not to that. Like you class Woodley as an all-rounder kind of guy with like knockout power on one of his good nights. So that's that. And then the only wrestling is what I'm gonna see from Usman in this fight, right? Now, there is one thing that could happen, and this is something we spoke about back in the day in the WhatsApp group, is that smart fighters, remember we were talking about Kevin Lee and Oliveira, and how Oliveira was inviting the body kicks, because he knew if he just grabbed one of them, if he takes Kevin Lee down, bruv, he's got him in the submission, and that's exactly what happened. We've seen it plenty times. Al Iaquinta did that against Khabib Nurmagomedov, yeah? When he just allowed him to box with him, because he thought, you know what, I'm going to get this dude's confidence up, because there's no way he could strike with me, and that's my game plan. We've seen it with Anderson Silva. His whole career, that's what he done. He just lured people into a false sense of security where they thought they could fucking stand up with him, and then boom. So don't be like, that's what I'm expecting from Masvidal. I'm expecting him to come out and do that. I'm expecting him to take a few shots just to lure Usman into that game plan. So Usman thinks, oh, I could take him out. Don't even need to use the wrestling. However, as Rash said, I completely agree with him. I'm not trying to discredit Usman. My mind is saying Usman, but my heart is saying Masvidal.
Rash, come back. Rash, come back to that. What you wanted to say?
I wanted to say the point you made about Damian Maia. Masvidal lost to Maia. Usman beat him. So if you're tallying up the 2 fighters on that stat or that comment, that is what I just want to say.
Can I just add to this? Yeah. When Usman fought Damian Maia was a gatekeeper. When Jorge fought Damian Maia was like on the brink of challenging for the title. And I think after the Masvidal fight, he got the title fight. So we're talking about two different Maias at two different times. And just to add, at that time, Masvidal was just still that street fighter guy. But he still didn't get submitted by one of the most dangerous jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time in the UFC. And the whole time Masvidal was on his back, Maia was on Masvidal's back that whole fight. And Masvidal did all right for himself for someone that had literally no kind of wrestling, grappling credentials. So
that's what I mean. That's what we come down to at the end, right? When you say he's got no wrestling credentials, if Usman grabs this guy, he's gonna grab him. Usman's too big. You can't get at the guy. The guy's just gonna grab you from somewhere, and that's gonna be it, man. If Masvidal ground game,
that's safe to assume because Usman's already come out and said this in plenty of interviews. That's his game plan. He's gonna, in my opinion, from what I'm reading and hearing of his interviews, the impression I'm getting, he's going to come out and enforce the same game plan he did against Tyron Woodley.
It's going to happen.
Basically. But that's the thing. How do you think Masvidal's going to win? It would have to be by knockout, yeah? It has to be by decision. Huh? I don't think he'll get a decision. I don't. Because I think.
Listen, hold on. Truth. Finish what you're saying, and then we'll go to Rash.
Yeah. No, Rash was bad.
Right. Truth is Rash.
No, I was saying out of all the fights Masvidal's had in the UFC, I think there's been one decision gone his way, and he's had a shitloads of splits gone against him. If it goes to a decision, he's not winning. I put my house on it. If it goes to a decision, he's not winning. Even if we think he's won, he won't win. It'll come down to that.
You're right.
So then he has to knock out Usman.
He has to knock him out.
Yeah, but why do you put that in a like way where he can't do it? His last 3 fights have all been finishes.
Because I don't think Usman's gonna run head first like Askren.
Usman's like Super Saiyan level where the other guys are like normal level. Did you see the Colby Covington fight?
I don't think he's gonna run head first like Askren. That was a personal fight. I don't think he's gonna stand up and trade all fight long like Nate Diaz.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Usman's gonna play it smart, and I think everything he said in interviews till now, that's what he's gonna go out there and do.
That's what he said he's gonna do.
Yeah, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised if Masvidal came out in the first 10 seconds and knocked him out. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he's gonna try. I think, mark my words, I think he's going to, remember this, he's going to run out and try a flying knee or something.
He's going to want to put all of his power into one punch or one knee or one kick, and he wants to get a reaction from Usman. If he gets that reaction, and if Usman takes that punch, we'll see that. If he takes it, then we know Usman's got the fight. If he doesn't take it, if he backs off and starts going defensive and starts fighting on the back foot, then that makes me feel that Masvidal will get to him. So we will find out in the first couple of seconds of the fight which way it will lean towards, because it's too even. It's way too even, I feel.
It's going to be a good fight. We've got Masvidal fans, we've got Usman fans, right? Head is saying one thing, heart saying the other. All we know, it's going to be a good fight. Just in the shortest words possible, who wins and how? Tooth.
Wishful thinking, Masvidal, KO.
Truth.
My head and my heart are saying Usman, 4th round stoppage.
Rash.
Masvidal, 4th round. Third round. Masvidal, 3rd round.
And there you have it. It's pretty split. I personally believe Usman's going to take him 5 rounds and get a unanimous decision.
why I also think that Masvidal has a slight edge. You know when he came back and fought Darren Till?
Yeah.
I was in London. And Darren Till's from London. So he had everyone against him. The whole place was against him. And he came out and won.
Mm.
So he had all the booing, the people against him when he came and fought Darren Till. It was supposed to be Darren Till's big fight. And he came out and beat him. That's why I kind of lean towards Masvidal a little bit more. I want him to win, bruv. I would get mad. You don't understand. After the Ben Askren thing, right, this guy's been on a heat wave. So, and for me, after Usman, that was Woodley. Woodley's my boy, innit? You know how much I love Woodley. And the guy's got serious skills, and like he just jokes after his rap song as well, and fucking making his album. But because he did that to Woodley, I kind of don't like the guy. That's the only reason why I lean towards more of my guy. But the way he beat him, bruv.
Hey, he made Woodley start rapping, fam.
Wrestler. He's an Olympic wrestler. And he made him look like fucking Ric Flair.
Woo! Woo!
You know what I'm saying? It's just, if he didn't make Woodley look so amateur, then I would give Masvidal the edge all day long. It's Masvidal's fight, 100,000,000%. But because the fact that he made Woodley look so shit, that's what makes me think that he could do it to anyone. Because Woodley is the elite, bruv. When I think of Woodley before he lost to Usman, I thought this guy ain't losing. You seen him in fights, he would do shit to people you wouldn't think of, and then that was it. You blink and it'd be over, and Woodley would be like standing on top of him. But when he make Woodley look like that, bruv, it's like, nah, this guy's next levels, bruv. He's Super Saiyan level 2. If Woodley's Super Saiyan level 1, bruv, I'm telling you.
Hey,
two final point, because we do need to move on. Final point.
Say, bro, just on a quick note, you know, in the editing, yeah, you know, when Rush is like going off about Woodley, you need to play that film in the Hindu film that Tyron Woodley's on.
Oh,
I'll find that. I'll 100% find that. 100% find that. But that is the main event of UFC 2-1. We are going to move on to the next fight, which is for the featherweight title. Well, I'm going to say Alexander because I can't pronounce his last name. Versus Max Blessed Holloway. It is a rematch. What was it? December 2019 was the first fight, and it was done on a unanimous decision. Truth, I'm going to come to you. What do you think is going to happen in this rematch? What can Max Holloway do? Or is it just a case of it's just going to be the same thing that happened the first time?
You know what? When it comes to the rematch, I always like picking, the person that lost, because I always feel that they're going to come back and, they've learned their lesson. And it's not like it was a stomp. So, there's room for improvement. So I always feel like but I just think Alexander's a different gravy, I don't think Holloway's got this at this point in time in his career, especially. And I like Holloway as well. I like Holloway. He's a nice guy. I enjoy watching his fights. But I don't think he's gonna get this one.
Rash, do you concur?
Again, I don't really know, bruv. Like, I kind of feel that in the first fight, Max came in. I don't want to say it. I feel like Max came in unprepared. The way I see Max, I see this guy like crystal clean. Like the guy comes in like on fire. But in that fight, for me, it seems like when you watch the fight over, it seems like he was just slow, and he's not normally slow. But he was slow. I don't know. Maybe something was up. But if you watch that fight compared to his other fights, it just felt like he was less prepared. I don't feel like, I think he may have shed some weight, so he didn't look as trimmed as he normally looks, but we'll find out on Saturday. For me, Holloway wins. Unanimous decision.
Oh, really?
Wow. Tooth, I just want to get your thoughts on that as well, because one of the things that I saw and got a lot of pundits concurring with me was the fact that Max Holloway is known as a slow starter. His fifth round usually better than his first. But I think one of the problems that he had with Alexander is that I don't think Holloway could work him out. It was too much lateral movement, constantly moving, and the leg kicks were absolutely killing him as well. So I just want to get your thoughts on what Max Holloway can do in the rematch, or do you think Alexander's just going to do the same thing as last time?
Yeah, bro. Just another quick point in the editing. Yeah, you just said Max Holloway. So in that,
Did I say that?
Yeah. just put like a beach and some palm trees. Bro, yeah, you're spot on. Max has become very renowned for taking people to deep waters. You know. The two Aldo fights, the Ortega fight, and he's shown durability in his career. However, in that period, he also suffered some like weird injuries, like some concussive type injuries. I remember he was doing an interview once where he looked like he was falling asleep, like complete weight drain. And then, of course, he moved up to fight Dustin Poirier for like the interim title. I think it was at lightweight. And then he came back down to defend his title against Volkanovski. And obviously, he's taken a lot more damage than Volkanovski has in his career, right? But on that night, you're spot on. Volkanovski was just always one step ahead the whole time. And even though Max lost, and he lost unanimously and very clearly, it wasn't the same downfall as some of his predecessors have taken in the past. Which is that kind of knockout and, now we know it's all over kind of end to their title reign. His end was more like, oh shit, maybe he's getting too old, too slow. Again, it's one of them Usman Masvidal things. My heart wants Holloway to win it because it will be a fairy tale kind of Cinderella story. But my mind is telling me Volkanovski is going to do the same thing he done in the same fight. He's just too good,
What are some of the weaknesses of Alexander? Like, what could Max Holloway do to get at him?
Well, we haven't seen anything weak. Like I'm going off the top of my head here. This is why you should have done screen share, bruv, because I could have just thrown up some like Wikipedia stats or whatever. But he took out Frankie Edgar. He took out Chad Mendes. Do you know what I mean? He took out a few top featherweights to earn his shot, and he done it in pretty damn good fashion. I remember he knocked out Chad Mendes. I might have said Frankie Edgar earlier. I'm not sure if he fought him, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, I remember he just blitzing through the division, and he always just one step ahead, and he always looked like, oh, this guy's going to be a dangerous fighter. But I never thought he'd do it against Holloway.
I don't think anyone did.
It's like, man, the division is literally in the palm. This fight is his to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If Holloway were to start faster than what he normally does, and if he could try and box Alexander, would that give him more of a shot, or is it just a case of him gassing out? Because
if you're used to going deep waters, if you're trying to start fast, you have to end it early because you're not used to that kind of pace. So I don't see him suddenly changing up his tactics and starting faster. As I said, unless he tries to go and end it early. And if he doesn't end it early, I just think Alexander's just gonna finish him. It's just gonna be. He might even stop him. It might even be more unanimous than the first fight, and he might stop him. But I don't see him changing tactics to start faster. I think, again, he's going to analyze. He's going to start slowly, analyze the fight. he might try to do a few things differently. But as I said, normally I like to go with the guy that lost the first fight. But in this fight, as Tooth said, I do not see much weaknesses in Alexander. So I say I would love Holloway to win, but I don't see it. I don't see it.
Josh, I'm going to come to you now. Because Alexander's obviously the shorter man. I think he is the shorter man, isn't it? Like, compared to Max Holloway.
Yeah.
If Holloway could keep him at length, would that do anything? No? What do you think?
Not when someone's got leg kicks, but go on.
If Holloway can't block the leg kick, he's fucked. Simple as that. Flipping Volkanovski is just going to come and chop at him. He's going to do the Gaethje. He's going to come at him just like the Gaethje, chop at your legs, chop at your legs, chop at your legs, come at the top. Chop at your legs, come at the top. If Holloway doesn't have any sort of blockage against that leg kick, then he's done. Simple as that. There's no ifs, no buts, he's done. But I guess he can learn from the first fight. Hopefully he checks those kicks, but he's not a type of guy to check kick because he's always moving. He's always constantly on his toes. So if he sees a leg kick coming, it's going to come too quick and then he can't check it because he's constantly bouncing around. His feet are not level on the ground for him to check leg kicks. So
Can I just add to that real quick, Rash?
Yeah.
Completely agree with you. And you know them leg kicks are coming from an ex-rugby player. You know, this guy used to play rugby back in the day. And it goes back to the point I was saying about, you know, this is him fresh in his MMA career. So he can kind of dish out those kicks, knowing that he's not going to get a lot more in return in terms of damage. Whereas Holloway, who's someone that is very seasoned and a veteran now, you know, you have to ask, you know, how much can he endure? It's kind of like a Tony Ferguson Gaethje thing, as Brash said. But I must add to this, I also think it comes down to a question of who's hungrier. Now, I thought about this long and hard. Is it the challenger who used to be the ex-champ and he's trying to get his belt back in the rematch, or the newly crowned champ who's never had a taste of success and this is his first stint at the top? And personally, I think it's Volkanovski. Holloway has come out and said, in interviews, he said he hasn't sparred at all for this camp. He's only done Zoom training. You know, all his sessions have been through Zoom. Mm-hmm. So then again, it brings to, like, I know for sure, I don't, like, from the videos that I've seen of Volkanovski training, he hasn't been sparring. I haven't seen any videos of them, but, you know, he's been running mountains in Australia, biking. So he's been, it looks like to me, he's out there and training hard. He seems a little bit more hungrier, in my opinion. So, and again, the climate, you know, you have to take that into consideration because they're in Abu Dhabi. The climate there is much more similar to Australia than possibly in Hawaii, but I'm expecting Volkanovski to feel more at home in Abu Dhabi.
I feel like you hit it on the head as well when you said about who's more hungrier. Because, like, before Holloway's lost to Poirier, I don't think he'd lost a fight. His loss before that, I think it was McGregor, and that's going back years. That's when they both first came onto the scene. So obviously he lost to Poirier. Yeah, he would have lost to Poirier because the Poirier was just the bigger fighter, the harder hitter. It was going to happen. Then, he beats Freddie Edgar when he has his comeback fight down division. But I kind of feel that Max, he's been there for too long, bruv.
You're absolutely right, bruv. He's already cemented his legacy. No matter what the outcome of this fight is, he will forever go down in featherweight history as potentially one of the best featherweights that ever done it. For real. And that's why I say he's hungry. Because Volkanovski is just about to try emulate that success.
Exactly. Yeah. But I feel if Holloway loses, which is a high probability that he probably will, but I really hope he doesn't because I love the guy. But if he does, I kind of feel that he might hang it up then.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Truth.
No, I was gonna say in terms of motivation, if Holloway treats it as his retirement fight, You know, I feel he'll put everything on the line. I just don't like. For me, if you lost the first fight from a knockout, from a flash punch or something like that, I would give him more of a chance. But because it was unanimous, and it was a unanimous breakdown, I might have to just side with Alexander here, but I don't think Holloway could do that much to bridge that gap that was in the first fight.
And can I just add this, yeah? Because this is the perfect segue into Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo.
Hold it. Let Rash say what he wants to say first. Hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But let Rash say it, and then you can segue into that. Let Rash say what he needs to say.
No, go on. My bad.
I completely forgot what I was going to say.
All right, Two, say it.
Yeah, man. But this is the perfect segue into Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo, because literally the same thing applies.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right, we are going to segue straight into that. But Justin, again, shortest words possible. Alexander versus Holloway, Rash.
Alexander, unanimous again. Again, head is saying Alexander, but heart is saying Holloway.
Tooth.
Yeah, same as Rash. Head is saying Volkanovski, heart is saying Holloway.
Truth.
I like Holloway, so it's hard for me to go against him, but I think Alexander stoppage 3-4 this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Truth on that. I think Volkanovski grinds him out and finishes him inside 3 or 4.
You think he'll finish, Max? You think he'll get finished? I don't think he'll get finished. I reckon he'll fight on.
But it comes back to that hungrier thing, man. Who's hungrier?
Yeah.
That's
what
you
said about the training made me definitely go. If you only been having Zoom, I don't know. As you said, the climate and everything, it all puts in together. Like, not initially when we started, I would have said, yeah, full 5 rounds. But Tooth said, about the climate, the training. I have to go with a stoppage in this.
Fantastic points there, and we have got a full house because I think Alexander's. I think he's going to stop him in the 3rd or 4th. To be honest, I think this will be the swan song for Max Holloway. But I think we all say fingers crossed if Max can pull it out of the bag. Then we'll all be happy. But we will segue into the final co-main event of UFC 251, aka Fight Island, and that is for the bantamweight title. It's Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo, the legend that is Jose Aldo. Peter Yan hasn't lost since he's come to the UFC. He's on a 6-fight win streak. Unfortunately, Jose Aldo's got 2 losses. I think the last one was very, very, very debatable. I think he got robbed on the last one for sure. Tooth, Peter Yan, Jose Aldo. I know you said it segued into the Alexander versus Holloway. Is this another one of those scenarios where in which Peter Yan is going to be younger, hungrier, faster, and Jose Aldo, has he gone on too long now?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I agree with you completely. But just to break it down a little bit, Aldo was the featherweight king for so long, and then he got dethroned by McGregor, I think, 4 or 5 years ago? And then since then, it's been on a downward spiral, whether it was his confidence or his chin or a combination of both that just, made him decline so rapidly. So who knows? But now he's at bantamweight. He's moved down the weight. So again, it goes back to that point that I was saying earlier. He's already cemented his legacy. This is his last dash at a title. How hungry is he? Again, he's going out to Fight Island. The travel, the jet lag, that can alter his age, the weight cut, it could all affect him. How hungry is he at the end of the day? You saw him take a lot of damage in the 2 Holloway fights.
Yeah.
A tremendous amount of damage in those 2 fights. And then the Marlon Moraes fight, he went down in weight and it was a close fight, but still he was taking a lot of blows. And you have to question a man at that age taking those kind of shots. At some point, one of them will turn those lights off. Mm-hmm. Now, Peter Yan, complete contrast, on an absolute tear, been terrorizing the division. complete boogeyman. Definitely deserves a shot. However, it would have been nice to see him fight one of the other prospects in the division, like Corey Sandhagen or Aljo. You know, those two fought on one of the cards, and that was a great fight. But however, it doesn't matter to me. They're all gonna fight at some point. It's just Peter Yan is kind of ahead of the queue, and he's got the title shot, which is fantastic. Personally, I think Peter Yan is gonna destroy him. You know, it might, even if it goes to a decision, he will still beat him clearly. Like, he's gonna mop the floor with him. If he doesn't finish him, it's just gonna be a complete one-sided beatdown.
Rush, do you have can you see any way in which Jose Aldo can do anything? I mean, apart from by the grace of God, can you just see anything from Jose?
To be honest, him coming down weight is a good thing, because I feel like he still has the power to obviously to cause an upset, you might say, but it's gonna be tough, man. I mean, like, you got a lot of killers in the bantamweight, and I don't understand like why Yan has chosen sort of the Aldo fight. I mean, it's for the belt, right?
I think, yeah, the bantamweight belt's vacant. I think it wasn't a case. I think the reason why it's Jose Aldo, this is me speculating, is purely because it's the first fight island. They needed a name, and Jose Aldo, obviously a legend in the game, and it's Peter Yan, you would expect to beat him. I think that's the reason why Jose Aldo's there.
100%. And also, just to add to that, TJ, he's coming off a loss against the guy who just fought the champion and lost in Marlon Moraes. So how does he leapfrog everyone else when he just lost? It would have been understandable if it was Marlon Moraes versus Peter Yan, or if it was, again, Aljo or Corey Sandhagen, or one of those guys. But Aldo, I personally think it's just name value. He's a legend in the game. Just to give him some respect, they're like, you know what, this is your last one, and then we're just, we'll see what we do with you. That's absolutely fine. So basically, the reason why I don't think Marlon Moraes got the shot at the title against Peter Yan, even though he beat Jose Aldo, was the fact that before the Cejudo fight, they put they pushed Marlon Moraes, as the next champion. Ideally, they wanted him to be the next champion. But then Cejudo won. And remember, Cejudo was coming up from flyweight to the bantamweight division. So that kind of threw a spanner in the plans. Do you know what I mean? So then I think in the UFC side, they don't believe, what's the point of throwing Marlon Moraes in there again with potentially losing? Because Peter Yan, again, I think, in my personal opinion, he can beat everyone in that division on a good day. He's shown no weakness.
The thing is, I think Cejudo got lucky against Moraes. If they fought again, I think Marlon would have him, bruv. Cejudo, I don't rate Cejudo as a fighter at all. At all, bruv.
We'll get into that.
I think that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, that's a discussion for another day. But Troop, I want to come to you. Troop, have you got anything to help Jose Aldo?
I'm going to say this right now, Aldo is my boy. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care through losses. We've been through the hard times together. McGregor, that McGregor fight, that wasn't Aldo. He never got his dream. Aldo's, but I love Aldo. I don't care. He's guys literally like, he's one of the people that actually got me into UFC. Like, I love Aldo. He's my boy. So I don't care if he's the underdog. I don't care if we're against flipping Sparta. I'm backing my boy, 100-0. He's gonna pull it out. I think he's gonna. I don't care if it's. I know he's. I'm backing my boy. I can't. It's like Arsenal versus Man City. I'm not gonna ever say Man City are gonna beat Arsenal in it. I am backing my boy. Me and Aldo.
But how?
Can I just add that I like that passion, bro. But yeah, man. Like you said, bro, Aldo is a legend in the game. Don't get me wrong. Aldo is like, he's got everyone's respect in the game.
Yeah, trust me, I know. Trust me, we got the whole house against us and everything. But if there's anyone that could pull out something, I like Aldo's passion when it comes to fighting. He's not. I don't see him fighting for money. He's not fighting for money. We're just like, oh, he's putting his all into his training. You know, he's coming there shredded. He went down in weight, which is, you know, you have to you have to go through the weight loss. It's not something that's easy at that age. So going through that shows that it's not just there for money. I think it is a weight class that does suit him now. Because I think, you know, the highway is just too much killers like for him in that weight. Bantamweight I think suits him a little bit better at this moment in time. I like what I saw from him from the last fight. This is the only reason why I'm giving him a bit of hope, because I thought that he was going to get run over personally. But he gave a very good account of himself. I was happy with that performance, and I think, you know, it's a very small chance that he's going to pull it off, but I do feel that he's going to pull out all the stops, and I'm going to back him. I'm going to back him in this fight. I'm going to back him against Jan to pull out upset.
To that, man, because it just like the way I saw the last fight with Volkanovski and Holloway. I just want to summarize and conclude on this point. I think a lot of it will come down to who's more hungrier.
Of course.
Like we said, no matter what anyone says about Jose Aldo, he's forever cemented his legacy in MMA and in the featherweight division as one of the best. You know, same way like Max Holloway. So again, the flight, the jet lag, the training at his age, and again, he's fighting at bantamweight, which is it's tough, man. Again, like I said, at his age, at this time in his career, maybe he went down too low, you know. But again, if you can't rule out someone like Jose Aldo, you know, even when he went in there with the Conor McGregor fight, people still gave him a chance of winning. Like, there's never been a fight that Aldo's gone into and people have written him off.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be.
Just as a thing, is there fans allowed, or is it just no fans at all? Or
no fans. UFC 255.
You man said there's a cage on the beach. Yeah, that's not true, bro. Listen,
is it not?
No, bro. They're not going to be fighting on the beach, bro. They're going to be fighting in an enclosed, in an enclosed arena kind of thing. The same
bro. I
have a question.
I read it was going to be on the beach.
That is one of the, from what I understand, that was one of the training cages, so the fighters could train on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you never know, they might pull some crazy shit like put it on the beach, which I would not mind at all, bro. I'm all for it.
I love that, you know, because at least some fans, you can have some fans come to the beach, you know, like not crazy amount. You can have some fans come.
But bro, the whole island is reserved just for the UFC. So they built the arena, they built the cage, they've got hotels there. No one is on the island other than the fighters. And the stuff.
That's a madness. It is a madness. Just to wrap up that Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. Truth, take it you're back in your boy.
Yep. Back
how?
In he's not gonna get. You know what? F it. TKO. TKO. He's gonna start TKO. I was gonna say decision, but I don't see him getting decisions. It has to be a flash knockdown. Has to be. That's the only way he's gonna get it. Round one.
Round one. Rash.
Again, innit? It's a head and heart thing. What can you say on it? There's no shits about it. Like, man, I honestly, hand on heart, think Yan will win, man. He's gonna just destroy the guy. As much as I want Aldo to win, like I want Holloway to win, it's not gonna happen, bruv. It's not. It's just Yan just got. He's obliterating, bruv. I see Yan knocking him out. He's gonna knock him out first round, bruv. He's gonna hit him. He's gonna hit him with 2 jabs. Aldo's gonna feel it, and he's gonna be like, "Fuck this shit," and that's it. And he's gonna go out.
Wow. Tooth?
Yeah, man. Petr Yan finishes Aldo within 2 or 3.
Cool. Well, we will be back. We'll be back talking about Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury and all
Dillian
that. So we shall see you lot in a jiffy. Yes, people, and we're back now to the round table discussion, and we're going to move on to boxing, and the talk is of Dillian Whyte, scheduled to fight Alexander Povetkin August 22nd. However, we are hearing that he could potentially get a title shot against Tyson Fury for the WBC title in December if Deontay Wilder cannot fulfill his duties.
Yes.
First of all, because I can see Rash there very pumped up right now, is this a long time coming for Dillian Whyte?
Yes. Let me get started quickly on Dillian question. Every man, even Andy Ruiz, got a shot. Dillian deserves his shot after beating what's that Australian, that
Tony
fake,
Parker.
that fake, who thought he was all that, who thought he could handle AJ, who thought he could do
Parker.
him.
New Zealand. That's right, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Same thing, innit? Australia, New Zealand. But what I'm saying is, like, Dillian, as I know the guy has had a bad journey with all the whole pissing and the whole anti-doping shit, but I still think man deserves more of a shot than Brazil does. How the fuck did Brazil get a shot, bruv, at Wilder? You tell me that. Real talk. Can somebody explain that to me? Because I don't get it. But I feel Wilder will not take the fight in December, and we will see DW versus Fury, and then the winner will fight AJ for the ultimate UK champion of generations, bro.
Just on obviously, Dillian Whyte has come out and said that he sparred Tyson Fury various times and made him work hard and has hurt him a couple of times. Yeah, he said he floored him. Has criticised Deontay Wilder because he was like, he doesn't even punch that hard, and he wasn't giving Tyson Fury any body shots or anything like that. Does Dillian Whyte have a chance, or is this just a formality? The truth is it just a formality?
Well, versus
Tyson Fury. We're not even talking about Povetkin right now.
Does he have a chance? Not from what I've seen. I think Fury would flipping box his lights out. But I still want to see it because Dillian's a talker and he can convince me he could win. So I want to see it.
It's the heavyweight division. Anyone can knock out anyone.
Of course.
With Andy Ruiz and AJ. So if Andy Ruiz can knock out AJ, you tell me Dillian can't knock out Fury?
Of course. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying I don't think he would win. I think Fury would just turn it into an ugly fight, like an ugly fight. I don't know if Dillian's got the power.
It will go ugly. If it goes into a brawling fight, I think Dillian has more.
Not a brawl fight. Not a brawl. It won't be a brawl. If it gets into a brawl, Tyson's just gonna hug him, like lay all his body weight on him, and Dillian doesn't have the best stamina. So I don't know if Dillian would be able to hack going all 12 rounds. I just don't think he's got the skill set to outbox Tyson Fury, which I think he would have to do. He would have to set up that left. He said he would attack the body, which is, a decent attack, but it's easier said than done, innit? Against someone that moves as well as Tyson Fury. But as I said, I still want to see it because if there's anyone that could talk, win me over, is Dillian. He's a great talker, so.
I can see two right now. I can't because he's sitting in the dark.
to see. Hey, two come out of hiding, fam.
I don't think for the people we can't see Tooth right now, but you are about to hear his thoughts. Tooth, the same question that I posed to Rash: does Dillian Whyte deserve his chance?
Oh, do you really want me to go in on this, bro?
Yeah. We want to hear, man. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Listen, first thing is he needs to get past Povetkin, all right? Which is occurring in Eddie Hearn's garden for pay-per-view. Someone explain to me how the fuck that happened, all right? But anyway, if we get beyond that fact, we can start breaking it down, right? So if that even happens, if he wins, and if he seriously considers about taking a fight with Tyson, Tyson's come out and publicly said he doesn't want to fight Dillian Whyte. Not because I think he's scared of Dillian Whyte. I think it's just not the best option on the table for him. He's out there trying to make a Wilder trilogy, which in itself, both fights generated huge amounts of money. I think they were the biggest selling boxing fights of both the years they were in, if I'm not mistaken. So that fight will definitely draw more money than a fight with Dillian Whyte. And a fight with AJ will certainly draw more money than a fight with Dillian Whyte. So he's come out and said that. That's not in his plans. And I don't think Frank Warren is open to working with Eddie Hearn anytime soon anyway. Neither is Bob Arum, for boxing political reasons that, you know, we won't get into today. We'll just focus on the fighters, right? So, you know, you guys say he deserves a shot. I don't really agree. I mean, he had a mandatory against Pulev, which he turned down. He had a mandatory against Ortiz, which he turned down. He had a mandatory against Brazil, which he turned down. All of them for money fights instead. Good for him. You know what I mean? Good for him. I think he took on Parker, Chisora, and maybe Chisora 2 or someone else. But yeah, he
Rivas.
Rivas was a
Eliminator.
Was a title eliminator basically.
Oh, sorry.
But before that, I'm talking about a few years ago, more than a few years ago now. And then so he turned down those 3 mandatories off the top of my head. And then I remember even after the Chisora fight, or maybe it wasn't Chisora, but you remember when AJ came to ringside and they wouldn't let him in the ring and it was about the fight. Like, bro, you both have the same promoters. You could have made that fight happen. It was on, it was popping, people were talking about it. Why not make that? Like, you've had your opportunities. Do you know what I mean? Now you're being, like, to me, you're just being a crybaby. So I just want to add, I'm gonna wrap it up real quick, because I might even cover the point you're gonna throw at me. Yeah. So he's taken the money fights instead. Like I said, good for him, but you can't turn around and say, I want the mandatories, even though you haven't fought for them. Brazil even offered him to come to America and fight for the #1 mandatory spot, which Dillian did not take, and hence why Brazil got the Wilder fight. Just going back to the point that Rash said, yeah? Furthermore, I'm not even going to bring up my man's drug history. Do you know what I mean? He's failed twice. The first time I gave him a pass because it was a pre-workout. And you know, shit like that sometimes happens. Fighters take the wrong supplements, it's contaminated. We've seen it with your Romero. We've seen it with your boy, John Jones. Do you know what I mean? We've seen it so many times. So, you know, you can give some fighters a pass for that, especially if they're young in their career. But let's keep it fucking real. Combat sports is flooded with peds. You could go into a normal gym, let alone a fighter's gym, and see peds everywhere. These people aren't even competing, let alone going into a fighter's gym where, you know, even the dude that's going to be fighting on Sunday at the train station for £10, he's probably going to be juicing. So, like, let's just keep it real here. Now, the fact that he failed the second test even brings up more suspicions, because we know it's people that use peds use it throughout their whole career. You know, it's just one of those things. We could bring up countless examples, not only in MMA, but throughout sports in general. You know, Lance Armstrongs and TJ Dillashaws and XYZ. So you're not going to fool me that it was a one-time thing, especially when you've already felled for it previously, right? Furthermore, there was no explanation that came out. So like I said, even no matter how dumb they might think we are, they still came out and said, Canelo, the multi-million-dollar Mexican boxer, was eating a fucking taco out of a food truck in Mexico, and that's how Clenbuterol get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they still gave you that bullshit story, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you get me? Even with other cases like the Luis Ortiz one, he still brought out medical papers saying, like, with doctors, legitimately saying he was on diuretics because he has hypertension, right? With Dillian, there was nothing. There was just nothing. It was just like, the board, the BBC said that he was cleared to fight. That's it. We sent him into the fight, knowing that they broke the law. The promoters, the sanctioning body, and the boxer himself, failing a drug test before fighting Ribas for the #1 mandatory spot, and that shit was just swept under the rug.
On that point of breaking the law, the explanation, I'm not saying it was the right explanation, but in terms, they didn't break the law because what was said was that they had a hearing that week prior, and then he was cleared of what his explanation was. But as you said, obviously, we do not know what the explanation was because it was a private hearing. As you said, obviously, it's a little bit fishy. I'll give you that.
Money talks. Yeah, money talks.
It's riddled in drugs, but as I said, he was cleared, so the whole point is moot. End of the day, that's got nothing against.
But the point is, bro, we're not casuals here. We're trying to be knowledgeable here, and we're trying to go in deep. So we can't fool our audience by giving them that kind of like, oh, you know what? Just because they said they're clear, they're clear.
Well, we can't speculate either. We can't speculate either.
I'm not. I've given a very solid account of why it's 99% true that he is a ped user. Do you know what I mean? Just from all the little bits and pieces that I've added up. Now, what I was trying to say was the reason why that was against the law was literally no matter what the outcome was and what the book, Ribas did not know he was going in to fight a fighter that had failed the drug test, but then been cleared. Period. He did not know nothing. Now, the hypocrisy I'm trying to point out is when Jarrell Miller gets popped, and like I said, we're keeping it real here. You can go into any fitness first and find peds anywhere, let alone a fighter's gym. Jarrell Miller, sorry, my phone's buzzing, bruv. I'll just turn it off real quick. Yeah, so Jarrell Miller, who got popped twice. Eddie Hearn is like, his career needs to end. He's a disgrace to boxing. He should be like, and then you got your boy Dillian Shitwipe over here, fucking failing multiple drug tests and getting a fucking pass, and then demanding a fucking a title shot is bewildering. So that Ribas, in my opinion, because he failed the drug test, shouldn't even be a mandatory. It should have been no contest, and he should have been serving a 2-year ban or however long ban it should have been. But then a few weeks later, literally a few months, whatever it is, he's on a card in Saudi Arabia, again, with no explanation of what happened, fighting on the same card with a bunch of other ped offenders, bro. Like, it just doesn't add up to me. And, bro, just to quickly wrap it up, yeah, you guys can rebuttal this. You guys talked about Tyson Fury, yeah? So sparring is sparring at the end of the day. We've seen footage of Floyd Mayweather getting fucking, like, in his early career, getting done up by that white boy. I forgot who it was. Like, by some journeyman white boy. So sparring, I wouldn't take too much into heart. However, we all know Fury is by far the best heavyweight in terms of ability. You know, in terms of raw boxing ability, technically, he is the best heavyweight. Anthony Joshua is the most popular and Wilder has the most power. That's just how it is. You know, we can disagree and nitpick on other things, but that's just the general consensus. You know what I mean?
Zero power.
What do you say?
But yeah,
His
but
leg-
listen, man, you guys said, you know, he got done up in sparring by Dillian Whyte, yeah? Bro, you remember when Tyson Fury came out and he had that raspy voice?
Yeah.
You remember, like, everyone was like, what the fuck is wrong with his voice for 2 years? Yeah?
Yeah.
Bro, you know who done that to him?
Who?
Ty Mitchell.
What?
Exactly. Who the fuck is that? So if Ty Mitchell can fuck up Tyson Fury's voice for 2 years in sparring, then yeah, of course, Dillian might have knocked him down or whatever, bruv. Sparring is sparring. That's the point I was trying to make. And yeah, that's it.
All right. So just to clarify a few things, the Oscar Rigas thing and the drugs thing. The reason why that fight went ahead, I'm just telling you what I read. It was the UK anti-doping that said that he failed before that fight, but he did 2 tests with VADA, 2 before the fight and 2 after, and it came back negative before the fight and it came back negative after the fight. And then that's when he then took it to UCAD, and then thus then cleared him. That's the whole scenario of what happened there. That's the whole reason why the fight went ahead, purely because he did his 2 tests with VADA before and after, and nothing came about it. And then obviously he did the test with UCAD. They said they found something, and then they withdrew it because I think even though VADA cleared him, he still wanted to go to court and clear his name with the UK because obviously they're the main doping people for him. In terms of his mandatories, yes, I don't disagree that he could have fought Pulev and he didn't. Brazil, the reason why he didn't fight Brazil, right, is simply because he was told he was the mandatory, right? And then all of a sudden, Brazil's come out and then said, oh, I'm the mandatory, I'm going to fight Wilder, but if you want to fight me, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't a case of he didn't want to fight Brazil. He felt disrespected because just like, I can't remember who he fought before Wilder fought Brazil.
Bro, can I just interject real quickly about
One second. Yeah, go on.
Go on.
Just about the mandatory, bro. Yeah, Brazil, and I agree with you because yeah, maybe someone in Dillian Whyte's camp was not feeding in the correct information, but even I didn't know this because boxing is a complicated thing when it comes to those, like, so many different organizations and rules. But the WBC have a mandatory 1 and a mandatory 2. That's how it works.
Okay.
So Dillian Whyte was mandatory 2 the whole time. Okay. That's why they were ordering him to fight these mandatories, because those mandatories were number 1. Ortiz was number 1 mandatory, but Eddie Hearn paid him step-aside money so AJ can fight Klitschko. Brazil was number 1 mandatory. He was ordered to fight Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte turned him down to take a money fight, maybe under the impression that he was mandatory number 1. And then Brazil, after that, Brazil invited him. So this is the second time Brazil is offered to fight Whyte. Whyte turned down the fight again and decided to fight, I can't remember who it was. It was either Parker or Chisora 2, but one of those 2 fights for, again, a pay-per-view money fight. Again, fair play to him.
I think that was the Tony Parker fight, and I think in that case it was more credible to fight Tony Parker because he was the former champion than fight Brazil. It didn't make no sense to fight Brazil because it didn't prove anything, whereas he wanted to take on Tony Parker purely because he was a former champion.
You're gone.
And that fight would have propelled him into a title fight.
Yeah, on to what Tu is saying about mandatory number 1 and 2, you're right. Probably wasn't being fed the right information. The reason is because he was number 1 in the WBC rankings. Unfortunately, being number 1 in the WBC ranking, and as you said, it is convoluted and complicated because being number 1 doesn't actually mean that you're the mandatory, apparently, which I found out. Being number 1 just means you're number 1 in the ranking. That's it. It just means you're number 1 in the ranking. So you could be number 1 in the ranking and still not be the mandatory for some reason. The whole point is that the Ortiz fight didn't take place because it was an eliminator to then go and fight Brazil. So I know why he didn't take the Ortiz fight, because I wouldn't either. Why would I go fight Ortiz to then have a number one contender fight? Surely, if you're fighting Ortiz, is to become the number one contender. And Hearn said that. Dillian Whyte said that he would have taken the Ortiz fight if he was given a shot at Wilder afterwards, but that was not the case. The shot at Ortiz was then to go fight Brazil or fight whoever was mandatory at the time.
Right, listen, I'm sure that fight was a mandatory fight. I'm more than certain. You might need to pull it up in the editing and, you know.
Yeah, we could pull up in editing, yeah.
Hold on. I'm sure that was a mandatory fight because if my memory serves me correctly, the WBC had ordered that fight. You know, they had ordered that mandatory fight against Luis Ortiz. And
yeah, but it was to be the...
That's when Dillian came out and said, you know, this guy is old, I'm not going to fight him, blah, blah, blah. But
he never said that.
Like I said earlier, he might have not been getting the right information from his team to understand how these things work. That is definitely a possibility, you know. And if that's the case, he has to be seriously taking a good, long, hard look at the people around him because they're playing it. He could have had the title shot a long time ago. He could have had that title shot a very long time ago. That's all I'm saying. Maybe someone in his camp is not understanding how this shit works. And that's terrible because it's definitely not benefiting him. Or maybe they're playing it. And that's what I think it is. I think Eddie Hearn and them have him on a yo-yo because they know they have a very valuable asset in terms of the UK market. You know? And they obviously know he doesn't stand a chance against any of those three guys. He's already been knocked out by one of them. And his last several performances have been very under par. So it's definitely about preserving the value of that asset, in my opinion. So that's why they've been giving him all these khaki pay-per-view fights and, like, you know, it's just to milk him while they still can.
I believe he could beat AJ, and I believe he could beat Wilder. Fury maybe a bit, but I believe he could beat any one of them too.
Can I just say why I believe that as well? Can I just say why I believe it's all hype? Because if you, man, recently followed this story, he was talking about fighting Francis Ngannou in MMA. Like, come on, bruv. Like, how much attention do you want? That's silly.
Come on, everyone does that, man. Come on.
First of all, Ngannou is not even allowed to fucking talk to anyone outside of the UFC. So Eddie Hearn tried to do a press conference and that shit, like the UFC shut that shit down. It's silly. It's really like, that's all it is. It's an attention grab. It's a money grab. And I feel like I'm the only one that sees it. Well, maybe not me, but there's several other people that see it that way. But that's the way I just look at it. It's the guy is literally on his last legs to stand. And this is the best, this is his last hurrah. You know, he's already failed 2 drug tests. You know, he's been played like a guy that's a dark horse on the fringes, but will never get that title shot.
I disagree with that completely. I do believe that. I believe basically I can understand what you're saying about the whole mandatory thing and not being advised. Yeah, I can agree with that. There has been some messing about from the WBC in terms of the whole mandatory thing, because all it takes is WBC president to come out and tell him, you're not the mandatory, Brazil is, but nothing ever came out from anybody in regards to that. He was just being he was just being fed these things. Further to your point, right? AJ's already knocked him out, yes. Tyson Fury, I think we can all unanimously agree, will outbox him and probably will give him that work. The one person that he wasn't avoiding, bar AJ, because that's a grudge fight, and we know they're leaving that later for. The only person he was not trying to avoid was Deontay Wilder. He called the man out several times, and Wilder avoided him several times. Now, Wilder thought in the beginning that Whyte was beneath him. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the money, him doing it. But I'm sorry, your biggest payday came when you fought Tyson Fury. Any of your fights prior to that wasn't even doing any sort of numbers. I think Dillian Whyte was getting paid more than you in certain fights. So as far as I'm concerned, any payday to you is a day. It doesn't make no sense if it's down if it's going through the money avenue, because you weren't making no money. Because in America, as Rash will tell you, no one even knew who he was. Like, it's that simple. And So I personally think, one, he thought Dillian Whyte, he's beneath him. I've got bigger things to deal with, i.e. like AJ at the time. I think Tyson Fury came in a little bit later, obviously, because he came out of retirement and he wanted a name. And lo and behold, he went and fought Luis Ortiz. But I think Dillian Whyte is prepared to fight any of those champions. And I think he's earned the right to fight any of those champions. I don't think he needs another fight against Povetkin. But unfortunately, the way how the division is set up, we've got the rematch with Deontay Wilder. AJ's got his mandatory against Pulev. So it kind of leaves him in no man's land. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, don't get me wrong, I still can't see how he's going to do it. But if Wilder does pull out the fight, I don't see why Whyte wouldn't be more than capable of filling those shoes. You said that Tyson Fury doesn't want it. Cool, fair enough. But what else is there if you're not going to fight Wilder? AJ's for next year. You're going to have to deal with your mandatories before that. So it's not going to happen. So why not fight Whyte? Because there isn't much else to go on. And I am going to bring Rash in to say what he needs to say.
I was going to say, I completely agree with your point, Troy. I feel like...
Can you... TJ, like, my name is on the screen.
TJ.
Yeah, I completely agree with your point in regards to the guy deserves a chance. I mean, I understand he obviously got caught doping, but you find me one of these heavyweights who haven't done some kind of doping. I mean, like, come on. You telling me they're all clean?
He hasn't failed the drug test.
Who?
The Wilder hasn't failed the drug test.
Mm.
Yeah, but even his stable is dodgy. His brother got caught taking drugs. And like, where does his brother get the drugs from? His brother was a new fighter in that gym. Where else would he have got the drugs from? He was a new fighter. He doesn't know any better. Where else could he have supplied pets from?
You're judging another man. You're judging another man.
I'm judging the stable, fam. He's a new fighter.
Yeah, but that's not
under that stable.
That's not the question. When has Wilder failed the drug test? That's the question.
He hasn't. Hold on, wait. Rash, go on.
Hey, go on, Rash.
I didn't finish. Yeah. So I was going to say, I know my guy, as much as I like him, and I know he comes from a true fighting spirit because he's not afraid to fight anyone, but he's just entertaining. This is why I like the guy, because he brings a certain quiff to the heavyweight division that it doesn't have. I mean, if we didn't have Dillian, then we'd be like cheering on Chisora, right? But Chisora's dead. At least we've got Dillian, you know? At least we've got this guy. He's like us, in a way. He's like, I kind of feel he's like me. If I was in the heavyweight division, I'd be like this. No one would give me a chance, bruv. But then I would tell them that one day, you give me a 1%, and I'll take the extra 99, bruv. He's one of those types. I guarantee you, once he wins the title, which he will.
Tooth is probably like going nuts right now.
Yeah,
because the guy did the drugs, failed the drugs test. That's why Tooth doesn't like the guy.
No, not at all. Not at all. Listen, I've said it, man. Listen, on the group chat, how many times have I rated my man in terms of his personality, his charisma? Like, he's a funny dude. He jokes around. Do you get what I mean? And to be fair, even in the Chisora fights and the two Chisora fights, and especially the one where he knocked him out, I gave him his props. You know what I mean? However, that's as far as it goes. That's as far as it goes for me. Everything else is...
You should be happy there's someone in the heavyweight division that wants to fight. With all the referees that goes around, you know, people dodging one another. We're talking a guy that just wants to get a title fight. And you're saying...
Well, bro, this is what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to say to rebuttal TJ's point, yeah? Was the fact that, look, you guys go on and say the WBC were playing games. They weren't playing games. If Dan Rafael for ESPN could write an article saying mandatory 1 is Dominic Brazil and mandatory 2 is Dillian Whyte, and they are scheduled to fight each other on the WBC, why is he then going to go take a fight with Parker or Chisora? maybe, like I said, maybe someone in his team is not relaying the information to him. Exactly, he took the money, fight, whatever. But the point is that he has passed up on many opportunities. So I'm not going to go round in circles.
But he's mandatory now, though.
Truth. One second. I just want to.
He's mandatory now.
I just want to reply.
Go.
In terms of Chisora, 100% was. There was two things with the Chisora fight. One, it was money. Two, he knew he wasn't going to get a title fight. Tony Parker, as I said it before, the reason why Joseph, I don't know where did I get Tony. My mind's on basketball from last week. Joseph Parker, the reason why he took that fight was because it wasn't a case of not wanting to do the mandatory. It didn't make no sense because he just thought there's no point in me doing this. And I think there was things where in which Brazil was due to fight Wilder anyway. So he took the Parker fight purely because Parker was a former champion and he thought he could go down that route and say, all right, cool, I've beaten a former champion. Therefore, can you give me my title shot? Other people have done it in different ways. Yeah,
you know what? That actually reminds me. Hold on. Actually reminds me. The time where he fought Parker, he was still pursuing Anthony Joshua's WBO and IBF titles. That wasn't around the WBC time. He went after the WBC time after the door was closed with AJ. So him taking the Parker fight was because he was pursuing the IBF route, WBO route, not the WBC route.
Jump in here because that's a whole bunch of nonsense. Even if he was pursuing the IBF route, they gave him a mandatory against Pulev, which he turned down as well. He turned down the mandatory against Pulev, which was IBF, I believe. It was.
You could turn it down for many reasons. There's many reasons you could turn down the fight.
You guys can make excuses till the cows come home. He still turned them down. That's all I'm trying to say. They gave.
But what does that have to do with him being mandatory now?
Hold on. These are just facts now. Hold on. Let me just. These are just facts. This ain't even my opinion. I'm on Wikipedia now. The audience can go look this up.
Wikipedia!
No.
Fam, never cite Wikipedia as a source, fam. I get you in an essay, fam.
You don't even need Wikipedia, bruv. You can go any sports website, any boxing website. It's there.
Yeah.
He turned down Pulev. He turned down Brazil twice, and he turned down Ortiz. However you like to put it, in some shape or form, they were all mandatory title eliminators.
I wasn't
Hold on. He turned them all down for money fights. I am not judging. I understand certain choices need to be done in a boxer's career to help them financially. However, I'm not going to sit here and say he deserves a title fight after beating Rivas, after failing the drugs test, and somehow being cleared after he turned down 4 previous legitimate opportunity. To me, that he doesn't deserve it.
Well, he's mandatory now, so regardless, he deserves it, whether you think so or not.
Yeah,
Mauricio Solomon thinks he deserves it. That's why he was actually told. You know what? The reason why he went into that case where he said he's going to go and pursue the legal route is because Frank Warren said it is possible that they could delay his mandatory again in February. This is why he was like saying, I'm going to take the legal route. And this is why Mauricio Solomon came out and said, no, that's not going to happen. Dillian Whyte has his mandatory in February, no matter what.
Nice.
2 seconds, let him finish. I'm going to wrap up.
And also another thing is that I feel there's some foul play ahead. This is why the Deontay Wilder and Fury fight is in December, because that makes it hard for White to actually have the fight in February now, because that's less than 2 months.
That fight is not even agreed. I don't know why people talk about the AJ and Fury fight. Like, that's not.
No one's talking about that.
No. We're talking about Wilder. Fury.
Oh, Wilder. Sorry, pardon.
Yeah, Wilder Fury is in December, which is pushed back from when it was supposed to be, which put Dillian Whyte in kind of jeopardy. So it is still all a mess at the moment. But if
That's not their
anything,
fault. That's coronavirus, bro.
no, it's not coronavirus. It's not coronavirus. It's because Wilder apparently got injured and he's got his recovery timetable. It's got nothing to do with corona.
They fought. If my memory serves me correctly, they fought in February. Corona was already a pandemic by like fucking February, March. So they went straight into lockdown after that fight. There's been no boxing since then till now. So
what's your point? Why would Corona delay it until December though?
Because they can't box. No one's allowed to box. So
what are you on about? The Povetkin and Whyte fights, I swear that's in what?
August.
Is it this month?
Yeah, that's coming.
August,
that's coming up. That's coming up. But in terms of a 1 year space between a mandatory fighting for the title, the title holder can literally say that has to be done in retrospect. So you have to start counting up the time from whenever I go back to box, and that's what the WBC have said. So there's so many things in play here that it's not a certainty. Yeah, they've said he's the mandatory, but so many things. They might even promote Fury to franchise champion. Who knows?
And we're not even going to get into franchise champion. But one thing we can say is that it is going to be a revolving door. It is going to be a saga. We want it's a split decision whether people want to see Wilder and Fury 3. A lot of people want to see Whyte and Fury, apart from Tooth. And at the end of the day, we want to see all the belts so we can have an undisputed champion of the world. Just the final thought on Whyte versus Fury. If it does go ahead, Rash, who do you think has that?
Obviously, mate, Fury's my day one though, innit? I can't go against Fury, bruv. Truth. My day one. I've been backing Fury since he was fighting in the freaking farms, bruv, bare knuckle style.
Channel 5 days.
Yeah, Fury outclasses Whyte for me.
And we already know what Tooth thinks, but I'm gonna let you say it anyway. Because you don't even want the fight to go ahead, but if it does.
Yeah, both of them are going to fail their drug tests, and Fury's going to come in with fucked up gloves.
Okay, no. The thing next month, Whyte or Povetkin, who's going to do it?
Say that again?
Whyte or Povetkin next month, who's going to do it?
Bro, Whyte is going to fucking murder this 40-year-old that hasn't won a fight in his last three. He's only won one fight in his last three.
No way.
Yeah, and his last fight was a draw against
David Price. David Price is the one.
What was that? I swear he beat Hunter though. Why it was controversial.
No, it was a draw, and he should have lost that fight.
Okay, it was a draw.
But yes, people, we are going to wrap up there. Obviously, it's all about future fights and all that good stuff. Want to say thank you to Rash. Want to say thank you to Tooth, and I want to say thank you to the Truth. Join us in a few days' time where it will be all Premier League. We shall be discussing United. We shall be discussing Chelsea. We shall be discussing Newcastle and Two's Ballon d'Or winner Joe Linton. And we shall be discussing Arsenal as well. Join us in a couple of days. Thank you to my guys. Join us next time where we will be back again. Peace. People, say peace.
Peace.
Peace.